I know I got about 30 seconds to make y'all feel this before y'all turn it off these days. That I might not even release this. But I be doing this shit for me, help me get through. I feel like I give until I can't, but most don't recognize it till I ain't. Blood on them covers, she hoping paint. Sorry mama, but it ain't. This world took a toll on me, and everyone that say they love me always seem to follow me. The same one that call me great, treat me like I ain't shit. I read between the lines, it's written all over your eyes. I see the disappointment in the eyes of the ones who want me dead, but I ain't never been scared, I tried to get there. Sometimes I wonder if I survived or did I die on that ride to that hospital. Demons all around me, I am not mental. This game of life, it is not simple. Last time I was happy, I was popping pills.
Yo, what's poppin', everybody? It's your boy Fax. Mister, if you turn your neck for a sec, your ding is missing. It's going to just be an open panel discussion. We're going to be discussing masculinity, the problems within it, if there's a problem at all, and whether or not there's an agenda to destroy, remove, or silence it. I am your host for the evening, and we got everybody just going to be sharing their opinions and discussing the topic at hand from their perspectives and their expertise. Anybody want to introduce themselves before we continue?
Yeah, you already know who I am. You know, I'm part of the Dream Team. I go by the name of Darian. I'm just here to be a part of the panel today and help facilitate this conversation.
Right to that. Anybody else?
Young Scribe in the building.
What's
Founder
poppin',
on
Scribe?
Crew. What's going on, y'all? I just stepped there in the building. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Information.
If you got anything you want to talk about, just jump on. We it's a wide topic, like it covers a lot. So whatever you can add to it.
But thank y'all for having me.
Of course.
You know what it is, you know what I'm saying? It's Zion War Child, you know what I'm saying, the War King, you know what I'm saying, just chiming in. I think this is a real interesting topic that y'all brothers are bringing forth, you know what I'm saying? I'm just chilling. And while I'm working, you know what I'm saying, I will chime in, you know what I'm saying, as I can, you know what I mean? Big shout out to Young Scribe, you know what I'm saying, Pooh Crew, you know what I'm saying, Smush Gang, baby, you already know.
All right. D, you want to introduce yourself or you good, bro?
Yeah, I'm David. I'm just here to, like Darian, to just join the discussion. And
Roger that.
I'm pretty sure this discussion is going to be very, very intriguing and informative.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. So, to start off, just very vaguely, do you believe or see or perceive that there is an agenda to destroy masculinity at large, or especially in the Black community in any way, shape, or form? Anybody could take the answer.
I would say yeah, to a degree. I think with the I don't want to say the feminist movement because I don't even know how to properly describe that as it is because I'm not really familiar with it, but it has definitely been a push of like at least for the female side of I don't really need a man type energy. You know what I'm saying? You get a woman get a couple of programs going for herself, you know what I'm saying, government assistance type stuff, and they feel like they don't need a man. I think it's been a push, especially from like the LBGT community side, as far as enforcing like that energy, like that balance of a man and a woman relationship is not needed. And I think that adds to like maybe toxic masculinity to a degree, or even toxic femininity to a degree, if that's even a thing. So I definitely see masculinity being under attack under several angles, and that's just my perspective.
I hear you, King. I hear you. What about you, D? I say you came off the mute. What you got?
Well, I think that there is an attack on masculinity. We see it in Hollywood for the most, clearly, and we see it, and it goes back to the feminist movement of the '60s, and Gloria Steinem, Betty Friedan wrote her book.
That's right.
Wrote her book, The Feminine Mystique. Well, Betty Friedan wrote her book, The Feminine Mystique, and got it published in 1962. And Gloria Steinem, in 1969, founded NOW, which is an acronym for National organization for women. And so it didn't have anything to do with black people, black women in particular, because it was between white people. White women wanted equal pay because they were not happy with the way things were as in the corporate world. So they wanted to make as much money as the men were. So it spread. How it got to the black community was Angela Davis. Angela Davis was the key figure.
Like the Angela Davis?
Yes. In 1970,
Yes.
and around the 1970s,
Certainly
because she was
was.
a professor at the University of California, Berkeley. And so she worked hand in hand with Gloria Steinem. And that's how it spread. Now in Hollywood,
Right.
that didn't start until the 70s. We had Julia, which was played by Diane Carroll in 1971. And then it started with Good Times, and with all of the other sitcoms we see where black men were looked at as buffoons and idiots, and women were looked at as the figureheads in the relationship.
So you think this was like a really long-standing thing? This has been going on for a minute, is what you're saying?
Yeah, years,
Oh,
50
yeah.
years, as a matter of fact. And it was subtle in the beginning. We thought we had something with the Cosby Show in 1984, but we all clearly saw that Claire Huxtable was running the show. We all saw it. So, and then it started. It spread all the way down to the 90s. My Wife and Kids, the Jamie Foxx show, and Living Color, with Jamie Foxx playing Wanda. The Simpsons, Homer is the dimwit. Marge was the figurehead, and then you got Lisa, who's super intelligent at 10 years old, which to me it's not necessarily all that unusual, but to me it's kind of plays into the fact that men are not capable of running anything without being told what to do, and if they are left alone to run anything at all, then they screw it up. They're always messing things up. My Wife and Kids is another indication of this, clear indication of it, where Michael Kyle is always getting in trouble. The son is a buffoon, an idiot. Good Times.
What about
Jake
Married
Rose.
with Children?
Holy wait a second, because you got me fucking stuck right now. So you're saying this
He's
is
right.
a pattern?
He's right.
No, I see the pattern. That's why I'm kind of fucking stuck right now. So there's a pattern of subjecting the male figure to ridicule or making them look inferior to the feminine, is what you're telling me.
Right.
Yeah, it's made to they're made to look inferior to the feminine mystique, and that's what the premise of the entire feminist movement was all about. It was a social experiment, and it was all a part of the whole Marxist ideal to break down the black family structure. The whole black family dynamic was predicated upon getting rid of the man, removing the man from the home. And
honestly, and that's kind of the basis of this whole conversation, right?
Mhm.
There's a big why behind all of this that I feel like is usually missing from the discussion. We usually point out the symptoms, but we don't talk about the why. Like why does this agenda, if you will, even exist to begin with? So case in point, one of the directions that I saw firsthand, I read it and it blew me away. I read this article. I don't even know if you could call it an article. It sounds more like a fucking manifesto, if you will. Shout out to Neandre for this. It's called The Overhauling of Straight America by Marshall Kirk and Erastus Pill. Up until this point, bro, I had never heard of this paper. Like it never even crossed my peripheral. Like I'd never heard of it. And some of the things that I'm reading within it really shocked me, because it almost seems as if we're talking about an actual laid out plan. And my whole point of all of this is why? What's the purpose behind it?
To break down the family. It's to break
but why? Like,
well,
what is I guess I'm asking, what's the
It's
benefit of doing such a thing?
Well, because people want to, they want a destabilized society. And that's what the Marxist worldview is all about. If you have a destabilized society, then you can get the people that come from these broken homes to rely more on the state as opposed to, or entertainment for that matter, as opposed to relying on their mother and their father, their parents for guidance, whether it's spiritual or whatever the case may be, moral guidance in this context. So that is why the home had to be destabilized.
All right,
And
pause right there, D. Pause right there, because you on a roll, bro, and I'm really interested to hear what you say, because it sounds more like you're suggesting, and I don't know if everybody agrees with this, but you're suggesting that their intent was to make uh create more property of the state, not necessarily creating more families. And I want to address that in a second. Zion, you were saying something. You were speaking to destabilization a moment ago. What were you saying there, brother?
Well, I agree with the brother, you know what I'm saying, 100%. Destabilization, and there's interesting, I have to find it. It was an interesting paper that was written about the downfall of Rome, and what had what they had assessed is that one of the key signs of a downfall of a civilization was the gender roles began to switch. And so it's not like it's unknown that certain social communities and groupings, when you start introducing um, uh, um, alternative lifestyles, that there is going to be destabilization. Also, with certain, relationships, as it were, or as it is, what I'm saying, you'll see that there's less opportunity. No, there's less capacity for long-term relationships where there's no children and no bond. What I'm saying, no equal bond. You'll find that families tend, relationships tend to uh, tend to fail. What I'm saying, faster than others. I'm saying, there's statistical proof on that too, but I haven't. I didn't know we was gonna have this conversation. I would have prepared for it a
No,
little
no, no,
better.
bro. Listen, y'all, we
Yeah,
feed yo, we building. I'm loving what y'all saying.
yeah.
I'm really blown
Oh, and I
away.
want to put this in there too. Understand this. One, it wasn't just removing the father from the family. It was also removing the male from the children. There was something in the 19, I would say from 1960s, 70s, all the way up until 1983, called the Tender Years Doctrine, where when a husband and wife divorced, the children were always placed in the care of the mother, and the father was placed on a financial obligation. And so, up until that time, up until 1983, this was going on. A lot of our dads weren't there because they couldn't be.
Yo, yeah, that's what I was just about to bring that up, and it's funny. Somebody in the comments actually brought it up moments ago. I don't know his name, but he brought up
Right,
the
right, right.
Moynihan,
It
the
was a
Moynihan
right. It was
something. Yeah, yeah,
yes,
that.
yeah.
yeah, the
It was a
Moynihan report.
legal precedent. Right. Go ahead.
Let me tap in before y'all shift gears a little bit to what David was saying. And he was mentioning all of the black shows and pop culture, a lot of the shows like In Living Color, and you even hit The Simpsons. What people have to realize is, like you mentioned, the Marxist ideals. You have to understand that these things work this way. Media, when listen to what I'm saying, media drives culture. In order to infiltrate society without it looking real aggressive, you have to put
Right.
it in the ways that are palatable or consumable.
Oh,
And so
propaganda. Yeah, propaganda.
Right.
exactly,
It's
but when
propaganda.
people
Yeah.
but a lot of people look at propaganda as they look at it as like this big war rhetoric when you have to it's a soft kill, and a lot of times it happens in such a minute way that over a generation things that we wouldn't have readily done, like remember when bathing suits was like a one piece suit when
Right.
when they used to
Right.
show the now that wasn't in our generation just because I'm only 36,
Right.
but I have seen the historical magazines and stuff like when because now bathing suits are two
No, that
pieces
was
with
real,
basically
man.
a
I'm
bra and
turning
panties.
50. Yeah, I'm turning
So
50, and I remember back in the day when my family members, we go out, they didn't wear freaking bikinis. That came later.
that was
You know what I'm
taboo.
saying? Yeah,
Even smoking
taboo. You know what
cigarettes,
I'm saying?
women smoking cigarettes was
Absolutely.
looked at as masculine.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
I think it's Edward Bernays or something like that. Matt, one of those names. But there was a gentleman who created the concept of showing women with those long Cruella de Vil sticks with the cigarette on the end of it, and made it look more feminine. And
Right,
so what
right.
they did was they began to I think he was like I think he was coined like the man of propaganda of some sort. If I didn't prepare, I'm just going out the top with it. But I remember it's distinctly that was a time where they instituted making women more masculine. I want to say it was around World War II. Zion, check me if I'm wrong, but it was around that time where they had the little the uh lady. What was the white girl with the
Yeah,
bandana? The
there's a picture the
rivet lady.
bandana and holding her muscle. Yep,
Yeah,
that was a
yeah,
propaganda tool during that time because a lot of the men had went off to war, and what was left to for the industrial complex, you know what I'm saying, all of those factory jobs and stuff. Women were starting to be placed in those jobs because the men were off to war.
exactly. And so what I was saying with that is what they realized. One of the things that I realized, that power vacuum of men being gone, they still needed voters. You know what I'm saying? Like we need people. That's one of the first things they
Right,
did was add voters. Like these women not
right,
voting, we need them as a new class of people. So it went from that
right.
to then, oh, we need more voters. Then black people started voting. Remember?
And the
And then
men
it
were
get
coming back home. Yeah, pardon self.
no,
Go
you
ahead,
good. Go
continue. I'm
for it.
sorry.
No, say what you was gonna say because you about to
Yeah,
say something
I was
key.
gonna say. Yeah, I was gonna say. And the men who were coming back home from war were either injured or had some serious PTSD issues. So the state began leaning towards, you know what I'm saying, the women for the industrial complex and for, you know what I'm saying, for the politics. You're absolutely correct.
And so then they went from that. Now let's speed up the forward. So you'll put in all the shows in the black community that led to strong black uh lead females, but then you had the less like for example, Bill Cosby was cool. He had a great job. He went to college, but in the house, Claire Huxtable was pretty much the one who looked like she wore the pants. People will say that she didn't, but you can see that they tiptoed it in there until they got all the way to what was
Right.
the Wayne's brother name? The boy Damon. No, is that Damon? Damon Wayans
Yeah, Damon
played
Nah,
Wayans.
it's two Baldwins. It's Keenan and Damon. They both
Yeah,
bald.
Keenan and David.
Yeah.
And Damon.
Yeah.
Damon. I think it's because he had the show and he looked mad. He was the mess up. He wasn't as stupid as Homer, but you could see that even his son wasn't even that really that smart. They had the child
My
that
wife
was
and
smart.
kids.
That show he really wasn't that great of
They did
a
that with
father
white
figure.
folks too.
A
Yeah, they
hundred
did that with
percent.
white folks too. Remember Roseanne? That show, you know
Oh
what I'm
yeah, with
saying? The
Dan
dad was a
Aykroyd.
freaking blue collar, yeah, the blue collar worker. But you know what I'm saying? Roseanne was the brain of the family.
Family.
I
Yep.
can go on and on for
Everybody
days with the
loves Raymond.
propaganda. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Oh
And
man,
then
freaking what is it? Married with children.
children.
You know what I'm
Oh yeah.
saying?
Okay. You got to be
Come on,
careful,
man.
man.
You know what I'm saying?
What's that, Scribe?
Saying.
I was talking to my daughter. My bad.
Oh
Hey,
no,
but David, David touched on something important though, because when he spoke about the gender roles and how that pertains to a relationship, and it made me think about ancient Egypt. Like this really isn't like a new phenomena or a new thought or concept as far as like a woman wanting to achieve that leadership role. You know what I'm saying? And me myself, I'm kind of a firm believer when it comes to, like, you know what I'm saying, like the gender roles in the relationship and how things are supposed to flow and how things are balanced. I believe that a woman should not have to assume the position of leadership, because I believe naturally women are they want somebody to lead them. But the second that is compromised in her head, she then feels like she has to become the leader, and that throws things off whack. Like, imagine dating a girl who feels like she's the leader, and you know what I'm saying. Then what does that mean for
Right.
you? Like, you're gonna be
Right.
following her plan, and you as a man,
Right.
you gonna be thrown off whack. Like, you got no path. You following her when she should be
You gotta
following
wear the
you type
dress.
stuff. But
Yeah.
if you look at ancient Egypt, they had I hate that I forgot the woman's name, but they had a woman who was a pharaoh, who was a
Hatshepsut.
king, who was a queen, who was in,
Hatshep.
yeah, there you go. And when you look
Hatshepsut.
at
Yeah.
statues of her, it's very masculine. It's very masculine, not because she in real life was a masculine looking person, because that's how she wanted to be portrayed. She wanted to be looked at as somebody who had equal power as a man. But the truth of the matter is, she did not have that power as a man. Like, certain things she could not do. Like, as a man, if I was ruling in ancient Egypt, I would be able to say, "Hey, let's go to the war room. Let's go find those the Hyksos. You know what I'm saying? Let's run a play on them." She, as a woman, she wasn't able to go out to war with the people. So it's like, we see that women always had like this, I don't want to say like a tick or something, but it's like, hey, if I'm not being led, I'm going to assume the position of leadership. But if a woman is
Right.
leading in a nation or a role, or any position she's not naturally supposed to be in, it usually fall apart after some time.
So that brings
Right.
in the
This is one of
question.
the things. Yeah.
No, that brings in the question of, does leadership automatically equal erasure? You get what I'm saying? Because me personally, I don't believe, I'm coming from the Christian perspective. I ain't pushing nothing on nobody, but I don't believe that a woman in leadership automatically moves that the masculine should be erased, or she should assume the role of the masculine. Case in point,
Right.
the case of Judge Deborah. Deborah was a judge. She did not usurp the authority of her husband, even though she was in a position of leadership over Israel itself. You get what I'm saying?
Right. I was gonna
So,
say the same thing, and yep, I was gonna say the same thing in reference to, and I'm a Rasta. Haile Selassie, he had his wife crowned simultaneous with him. You know what I'm saying? Which had never happened. You know what I'm saying? In the history of all 225 kings. You know what I'm saying? He made sure that she was called the Queen of Kings. However, you know what I'm saying, while she had authority to give authority over many of the ruling bodies of men, she still yielded, what I'm saying, to the authority of her husband. And so what most people don't realize is matriarchal systems did not were not predominantly feminine. There was a balance in matriarchal systems. You know what I'm saying? They weren't. You know what I'm saying? The male played his role and the woman played her role. Matriarchal societies had an even balance of masculine and feminine. You know what I'm saying, in the African culture.
right. So there was no erasure. There was no erasure. They respected each other's positions. It's
Right.
very interesting.
Exactly.
So
Absolutely.
Timotheus brought up attachment styles and how it shapes the kids building relationships. How does the removal of the masculine in the family, what's the effects of the removal of the masculine in the family? Obviously, I know I'm aware of some of the effects, but I feel like it runs so deep because we talking about showing it, portraying it in media. We're talking about laws that were writing this stuff down, much like the Moynihan report. Like, what exactly are the effects of doing such?
Well, there are mental illnesses for one thing. You've got. Uh, I see so many of our young people with what we call personality disorders, and 30 years ago we weren't. Nobody really talked about those things because it wasn't as prevalent. But now, since we have a new generation coming up, they have a lot of psychological issues. For one thing, um, if you look at the DSM-4, you have about the DSM-4. You had Axis 3, which are what we call personality disorders. But now they've been updated as to be called, Axis. I think they're called Axis 3 or something like that. But at any rate, can't quite remember what they're called now in the DSM-5 book, but a lot of them have personality disorders, and one of them are the antisocial personality. They no remorse, no empathy, and all of that comes from the parents. When the parent, especially the father is supposed to be there to to instill self, a sense of self, or a sense of um, identity to the male. You know, in certain religious a certain in the Bible it says this Abraham or the son Isaac is supposed to pass down the torch over to the child, to the son. Well, missing fathers, they can't do that. So what ends up happening is the men are searching for a sense of identity, how to, it's called compensatory masculinity. In other words, they have to, this is why you see a lot of young men sleeping around and having children all over the place, because they're trying to compensate or overcompensate.
Wait a second. Are you saying that the sense of lasciviousness or the need to constantly sexually express themselves in boys is due to them feeling like they need to compensate to express their manhood? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It comes from that the father not being there. The father is supposed to establish self-confidence, a healthy sense of self-confidence, as opposed to a woman. A woman gets her self-confidence by her father, but in a different sense. The father is when she reaches 18, the father says, well, you are so beautiful, I love you, and that love is not predicated upon what you can do for him, but is predicated upon who she is as a woman. But if the father's not there to give her that, then who's she's going to get it from? Any guy off the street, or her children. And those dynamics result in unhealthy attachment styles, like Timotheus was talking about earlier in the chat. They establish unhealthy attachment styles, whether they're, they get into these relationships where it's a lot of unhealthy. Can't think of the word right now, but it's crazy. It's really crazy, and so that's why a lot of women get into these unhealthy relationship dynamics, because they're looking for something that is supposed to be found in the father that wasn't there to begin with.
So here's the question. And anybody can answer this. When did it truly become prevalent and expressed, not just within our community, but obviously, especially within our community, but on a large scale, that the man was not needed?
In the 80s.
80s. The
80s.
This began in the 80s.
Now, I got to say something. The only reason why I say it was the 80s is because there was a special documentary done by Bill Moyers in 1986. It was called A Black America in Crisis. And Bill Moyer interviewed a lot of young women between the ages of 15 and 18. Well, I think the oldest was 17, as a matter of fact. But they all had children. And Bill Moyers asked one young girl, do you think you need a father to raise your child? And
I saw that.
One girl said no. The other girl said she was kind of indifferent about the whole idea. Then the other girl spoke out and said, well, my baby daddy, he was there in the beginning, but he walked off. So now it's just me and my son. And then it kind of led on to, this one guy that had 3 kids by 3 different women, and they were walking up and down. I forget what part of the what city that was in. I think it was in
Chicago. I thought it was Chicago.
It looked like it was. I'm not sure, but then it kind of the scenes kind of switched over to this one guy that was walking up and down the street. Bill Moyer was interviewing him, and he just didn't care. He just had this idea. Well, I got all these girls pregnant, and that makes me feel like I did something, like I won a Nobel Prize for literature. And so this is in part and parcel to the mindset of what a lot of guys think, especially when they did not have a male role model in the home. It's called male guidance, healthy male guidance. They didn't have that. So now they look at the world through a woman's eyes, and they think, well, if I'm to be a man, then I have to go out and sow my wild oats.
So let me add another piece in, because there's a couple of things that as he's talking, I'm being reminded of. I know that it's not just specific to the Black community, but why? One, we're Black, but two, the fact that a part of this nation, you got to remember that the black community, and even in many countries, including specifically us here in the United States, have a substantial amount of consumer power that we spend every year. It doesn't really stay in our community, but as a whole, the reason why America has this huge financial backing is because the backbone of the communities is the black spending power. Like I just watched a documentary where they were saying how Cadillac, and I'm tying this to what was initially said, where Cadillac was doing terrible because they did not want black people to own vehicles, right? And so they only was like, they weren't making a lot of money. And then one guy, probably in the late 70s, I want to say, said, look, if you want to make a lot of money, you got to start letting black people buy these cars. And they were leery, but when they did, revenue drove up 70%. And so the reality of it is that if you strip down the black community as well as the other communities as a whole, America can begin to fall. Like how Zion was saying, that once you start accepting certain social policies and start dealing with like, because I mean, one of our biggest, I guess, pros here in America is our financial backing. If we begin to lose the power of the dollar in the black community and subsequently the other communities, we won't be as strong as a nation as we used to be. And so, of course, you got to roll out the media. Of course, you got to roll out what do you call it, like welfare programs where you separate the man from the home. Like it sound good when you doing welfare and the government provide for women, but it's giving a false sense of security in the community where women rely so much, like an unbalanced amount. Like there's whole families that 3 generations of women and their children have grown up on welfare. And
I think it was way more than that, but I agree with you. I agree with
That's
you.
funny you say that shit, because that's exactly how my ex was. It was crazy, bro.
Yo, it's
Like
funny because
the mom
I'm
was
not gonna
living
lie
with
to
the
you.
grandmama, and the daughter, you know what I'm saying, she was an adult, but she was still under that household, and it was so cold because the grandma would, she like some, so she had her own crib. I think the husband paid for it before he deceased, but somehow
Mhm.
she was, I don't know how she did it, but she was able to still get Section 8 help. So she would get the Section 8 apartments, and then put her granddaughter in there, and then charge the granddaughter full rent. Crazy, 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 crazy. And me
Sublet,
being the
sublet.
boyfriend of
Whew.
the daughter, you know what I'm saying? That was me paying the rent. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I can't be around this situation no more, because it's like y'all are hurting me now. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all are devaluing me now, because now I got to go to work and pay this unfair wage. You know what I'm saying? And you really getting it off the strength because you want some government assistance type shit. But you know what I'm saying? Like that's the web.
What's interesting about it, and I don't know, I'm not speaking for nobody else. I know this happens though, outside of just what I've experienced. I know women that were firsthand taught how to work the system. Like
Yep.
they were taught what to say when they go into these offices and things of that nature in order to
They're
get
taught
the
how to they're taught how to win custody too.
yeah, of
Yeah.
course, of course.
Yeah.
So this actually comes full circle to what I want to ask next, right? I want to talk about the expressions of masculinity, right? Because obviously, like y'all brought up the media, and of course we brought up the subservient man, but I don't think we touched on the much like what Dave was speaking on, the overcompensating expressions of masculinity, much like what we saw in blaxploitation movies. Case in
Right,
point,
right.
one of my favorite movies, The Mac. The Mac, one of my favorite movies of all time. You see what I'm
Baby
saying?
boy.
Baby Boy, you know what I'm saying? A lot of these movies tend to have
Right.
these depictions of
Very
what masculinity is. And I'm just curious, right? If a young man, whether black or otherwise, but we obviously focusing on black, we all black men here, right? If a black man doesn't have that experience in order to know what it is to be a man or be masculine, and all he has is what he sees in the media, right? How else do we expect him to not repeat that same behavior and conduct himself as such, especially with our women who are obviously being affected by it, and we end up in this weird cycle, right? Like we're
Right,
repeating the
right.
same thing over and over again, right?
well.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting
Affected
question
by it or
because
perpetuating it?
Both.
Both. I
I'll
mean,
say
because
that both,
that's a deep question,
both.
bro.
well, I think
Okay.
Because keep in mind, like honestly, bro, like I'm gonna spit some bars. I'm gonna spit some bars from some shit that I grew up with. When the Remy's in this system, ain't no telling will I fuck them, will I diss them. That's what these hoes yelling. You see what I'm saying? That's an expression, and we talking about somebody that I don't know about y'all. I have no clue how y'all grew up, but I was under the impression the person that had the most money, the man that had the most clout, and the man that had the most respect was the most masculine. You understand what I'm saying? I didn't really have the understanding of what masculinity truly was until I became a man
It was
myself.
different for me. Yeah. At 50
well,
years
And
old,
I think
that's
that
growing
interesting.
goes
up,
back to what bro was saying about the media, though. You know what I'm saying? Like you heard that from media. It was a song. You know what I'm saying? And media has this super
right.
on steroids projection of this real life stuff, and that's why
Right.
we as a society is messed up right now. We got too many media outlets: TikTok,
Right.
Instagram,
Oh man, I don't even do
Facebook,
TikTok.
Twitter. People don't even realize most of the stuff that's retweeted on Facebook on Twitter is really generated from maybe like 5% of the actual people that's on Twitter. So it's a lot of repeat
Mm-hmm.
going on. It's a lot of monkey see, monkey do going on. So you
Right.
right. So
Right.
when you a young man or a young boy, I should say, and you don't have that guidance, because that's how I grew up. I didn't like like most people my age. They didn't have a father around. That's how I grew up.
How
So
old are
you
you?
have to really be and you have to really be mature and careful about the things that you latch on to. You gotta step into that maturity a bit sooner than other people because you ain't got nobody to look up to, really.
Right.
Especially if you was the oldest child. You don't got that. So now you gotta pick and choose what you're doing. And thank God mama was there, right? I know we kind of on this subject, but thank
Uh-huh.
God mama was there because the little bit that she could add in
Oh, yeah.
from
Man,
her experience, right?
man,
She gave
yo,
that to you.
facts.
The rest was for you to figure out. I can't teach you how to be a man. Get out there and get in the streets.
Well,
Maybe
yeah,
that wasn't the
But here's
best
the deal.
direction, but goddamn it,
You know
we
what?
we here now.
well, yeah,
We here now.
So
yeah, it's interesting because when I grew up, and I want to talk a little bit more about some of the movies that are out, and I'm not talking about the '80s like Breaking and Breaking Two and Beach Street and all those plays. I'm talking about from the I'd say around the '90s on. You know, Juice, Menace to Society, all of these
Yeah, real.
races,
That's what I'm
lyric,
saying.
Oh
you
Real
man.
know,
depictions of what we consider to be masculinity. That's what I'm saying to you,
all of these movies depicted the man, baby boy, came out 2000, I think 2002 or one or
nigga.
something like
No,
that.
nah, Zion
right.
gonna get this one. Shotas. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah, Shottas.
Belly.
Blood
You feel
clot
Man, that
till
me?
I
movie was
bust
wild. That movie
bumble clot.
traumatized.
Classic.
Hey son,
Yeah,
We
you
They
got
know
ain't
these
I
living
hate
like
that
images.
that.
movie.
That's what I'm saying. We
I
got these
hate
images
shot
of what it
toss.
meant to be a man from these depictions. That's what I'm saying to you.
yeah,
So we
Hate
find
shot
ourselves in
toss.
this situation where we're repeating this behavior under the impression that's what I want to be. We talking about impressionable minds here, right? We talking about little
Yeah.
boys.
yeah,
They don't see themselves in Superman. They don't even
nope.
see themselves in Clark Kent, but they
Right.
damn sure see themselves in Buns. They 100% see themselves in
Right.
Jody. You track what I'm saying? And they
Right.
go and repeat these same
Right.
things. And like I said, our women then are affected by it and perpetuate the behaviors as well.
You know what?
Now I'm wondering, and I don't want to make this a chicken before the egg kind of situation, which came first. However, right? However, I feel like it takes a certain level of intentionality and responsibility to bring it to a halt. You know what I'm saying? From what I
Did
can
y'all
see,
see? Did y'all? Yeah.
no, no, go ahead, son.
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry. Yeah. Did y'all see the movie about Ray Charles?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw
yeah,
that.
yeah. With Jamie Foxx?
Did y'all see how he was done by the women in his family?
Nah, bro.
They
Talk,
put
You talking
that.
about the movie? You
I ain't
talk
see
about it
Okay,
that.
because I'm
man.
kind of confused.
Yeah, but this is about his life, though. You know what I'm saying? It's a biography about his life. And it's based on his actual story. But his mother gave him up and gave him to her sister, and her sister then sent him over to a brothel where that woman who was in there, who was like an aunt or something, was literally sexually molesting him and forcing him to have sex to be there. See, some of this stuff's happened earlier
hmm
than what we
Don't
projected.
nobody interrupt this man. He on a bill right now. Keep going, King.
You know, I mean, I'm in father's rights, so I've been studying a lot about some of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And being a child of divorce, you know what I'm saying? I saw the difference between how my little brother, while my father had his issues, he was raised by our father. And the other four sons out of five, you know what I'm saying, we had a harder time because we were raised by our mother. My youngest brother, he's doing great. You know what I'm saying? Other and the rest of us trying to catch up. But with that Ray movie, back in those days, you know, a lot of the fathers were either going off to war. They, you know what I'm saying, they were separated from their families, and the women oftentimes brought in boyfriends, and they brought or they sent their children off to other family members where there was a lot of trauma and you know, abuse. And so that also is a part of the cycle. We have to go a little bit further back. I would say to even like 1920s, you know what I'm saying, to around the Harlem Renaissance era. You still had black families that were together, and then later on, after that situation, you know what I'm saying, that's when you started seeing the degradation of black families and more single mother households. You know what I'm saying? I'll rest right there because I don't want to overtalk.
I will say this though, like growing up, right? Because I was born in '88, so I would say at least like growing up in the early '90s, the experience that I had, and as far as like absent fathers, like you know what I'm saying, like I don't know why it happened in our generation like it happened, but I will say the people that it happened to, the children that it happened to that are adults right now, we are. It seems like we are fully aware of what happened to us, and we fully conscious of what's going on now. It seems like more than maybe our elders were to an extent, because I feel like this black father thing is like it's really popping right now. I feel like I don't really, yeah,
Yeah,
I'll be in there in a second, but I don't really know too many of my friends who just not taking care of their kids or not active in the child's life, you know what I'm saying, or
right,
just absent, you know what I'm saying, like on some, oh, well, I made that kid fuck him, you know what I'm saying, like
right.
don't get me wrong, I know a few people, but as far
Mm-hmm.
as like black people, it ain't I don't really know too many
We
black
actually
people
have the
that's really
highest
like that.
statistical number of being present. Yeah, actually, black men have the, especially now, have the highest percentiles of being active in their children's lives than any other race.
That's
Okay,
very
Right,
true.
don't let them tell you
Statistically,
differently. Yeah,
but let the propaganda and the media run it. You know what I'm saying? They'll
oh
have
yeah,
you believe
they're
news
gonna
that's
make it.
20
Yeah,
years
that we
old type
ain't there.
shit. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
that
So
we
it's
just
like
abandoning our kids and
all of this
stuff.
shit is
Yeah,
full circle, man.
right, right. You know, that's crazy. There was something I was gonna interject. Oh, you said something about, you know, saying the '80s time period, right? You got to remember, mass. That was the time, and I'm doing a paper on this. The time of mass incarceration, where
Yeah.
predominantly black men were being incarcerated more than any
Right.
other race in this country. So don't leave out the era of mass incarceration and the war on drugs.
so my question,
That
I'm
was
glad you
a
brought up mass
huge
incarceration.
effect.
I'm glad you brought up
And
mass incarceration. I'm really glad you did, right? Because now that's actually another direction by which masculinity in the black community is being targeted, right? Like that's literally a whole nother avenue by which the black male is being removed, right? My question is, with so many balls at play, we practically playing ping pong with 4 or 5 arms, right? I keep finding myself outside of the very vague explanation of white supremacy, because I know that's the first thing we jump to, right? And that makes sense. I don't think that's the only thing though, because we talking about on a global scale, bro. Black masculinity is a problem. You see what I'm saying? You damn near got to raise your voice 4 or 5 octaves in a professional environment just to operate to the same capacity as anybody else, or not be seen as a threat. You see what I'm saying, bro? True story. I had to break out of the habit when I'm walking the street, whether no matter what time after sunset, where I keep my keys in my hand if it's a woman or anybody around me, so they know I'm present and don't try to get startled at the last second. I had to break out of that as a habit. You see what I'm saying? My question is, why? Why are we somehow erasing? Oh, not we, but why is masculinity being erased if there's a matriarchal position here in the states? Why does masculinity have to be threatened in the event that it's a same-sex relationship, which doesn't make any sense to me. Why does masculinity have to be subservient in the media or overly expressive or overcompensating for what that lack of masculinity, much like what David was expressing? Like, I've yet to understand the why behind it. Hell,
All right,
even the
so
very things that were made from black male blood was literally outside of black males, and I'm not taking a jab at them. I'm just calling it like I see it. Black Lives Matter, for example, that entire organization was built. I'm not saying that black women did not lose their lives. Don't nobody go off and run off misquoting me or saying nothing stupid. That's not what Jay is saying in any way, shape, or form. I'm saying countless black men died, bruh. Countless black men, straight up and down, have died. And that organization exists just off the black male blood. I'm not exaggerating this. And that was not the forerun. That was not the forethought or the front running position for the organization at all. If you go to their site, they're not even talking about
Right.
it. They're not even talking
No,
about it.
they've shifted their political position over to,
But
you know what
shit,
I'm saying,
black.
LGBTQ. Yeah, LGBTQ is the prime focus now
they
of
conflated them
the
two together, mind you.
BLM.
Black is the new
Yeah,
LGBT.
man,
They definitely
that's
did that.
crazy.
They
Yeah.
definitely did that. But there's also a lot of that stuff going on in our on our side too that needs to be acknowledged. So, but
Let's
Right.
I think black, and I don't, and I say black, I don't mean black as how we use it today in America, but just the darker pigmentation of every race has always felt the weight. And I think that really goes back like somewhere in history where I don't know. Maybe motherfuckers is like salty because that those were the people who ruled during their time, the darker skinned people, or maybe I have no clue really. I can't sit here and try to justify it. I don't know why, but I think that
Yeah, I
that's
think
not just.
I think it's a reproductive thing. You know what I'm saying? Because you
Mhm.
know how they always say tall, dark, and handsome has always been like the quintessential vision of what a woman would find attractive, and that oftentimes I think made certain people, you know, certain males feel
Yeah,
some
Envious.
form of threat towards their reproductive opportunities.
for sure. I
You
mean, we
understand what
can
I'm
tie it back
saying?
to jealousy. We can tie it back to fear. However they want to, however they want to do it. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think it's just us. I think like the darker people, like in a Hispanic, if you go to Mexico, I think they get treated worse than maybe like the fair scan motherfuckers. I think if you go to India, I think them motherfuckers probably got like a fair scan people who in power. I think if you go to China, you know what I'm saying, you might see that not China as a whole, but you know what I'm saying,
That's a
Asia, you
fact.
may see that
Yeah,
the
that's a fact.
Cambodian motherfuckers get treated worse than the Chinese people. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
That's a fact. That's a fact.
I don't know what it is worldwide or how it became worldwide, or maybe I mean some people want to tie it back to religious reasons, but I ain't even here to go there. But that's just what
Yo,
it
whatever.
is.
I
No,
was about to
honestly,
go
honestly,
there.
whatever your perspective is, whatever your
Edomites.
perspective is, whatever your
Yeah.
perspective is, it's your perspective. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not here to debate anybody's perspective. I ain't looking for nobody to debate mine. Like, if you feel like you have a reason why, then that's your reason why. Like, that's the reason why
Yeah.
this is an open panel. Everybody just talking. We just talking.
Well,
I wanted
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. My phone
I
about to
was
die
just going
anyways. I'm gonna just kick back and listen.
all right,
I
so
bet
I
that.
was just gonna say I wanted to point out some of the traits, like 10 traits that typically is associated with masculinity, and then you can tell me why you guys think these traits are looked at as toxic today. You got strength and physical toughness, assertiveness and confidence, independence and self-reliance, courage and resilience, leadership and ambition, competitiveness, emotional stoicism or control, honor and integrity, protectiveness, and the provider role, and then we'll say number 10, even though I did two for most of them, risk taking. And so when you look at those particular traits that I name, look at some of the jobs that you associate with that. Obviously, you got all of the
Every blue collar job, like every single blue collar job.
whether you're working in the soil or where you working on power lines or whether you building, a lot of the
Even in
militaristic style
corporate
jobs.
America, though. Yeah,
Yeah.
even in corporate America. Yeah, even
The,
there's risk taking
I mean,
that's being
just for
done
those
there.
traits listed alone, you know what I'm saying? It's somebody with that type of power is it's easy to take advantage of it and use it
mhm.
for your own doing versus like, hey, I'm trying to help this lady and start a family type shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, say you got the power of strength. Yeah, you can do some good shit, but you can also overpower some motherfuckers with that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that could lead
Mhm.
to that could lead to physical, you know what I'm saying? Somebody taking the pussy, basically. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
it's,
no, I'm
it,
glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up. So let's talk numbers. Let's talk numbers, right? Because I mean, the conversation is obviously whether or not there's a problem with masculinity. Is there more evil men? I'm talking about when I say evil, I want to quantify it so we can have a really clear conversation, right? Those who break the law in a malicious manner, whether sexually, violently, in any way, shape, or form to that effect. Are there more men that exist to that capacity than there are righteous or good men?
I don't think so. Even though statistically they'll turn around and tell us that there are more uh, men who are serial killers than there are women. There are more men who are psychopaths than women. But I
But
think,
that's comparative to women, though, right? Like I want
yeah,
to keep it within. Let's remove women from the table. I want to keep it within the male gender, right?
hmm
Are there
Right.
more
There's more.
bad men than there are good men? Me
uh,
personally, I'm gonna give my answer. I'm gonna say no. I do not believe
No.
that just walking down the street there are more evil men just walking the earth than there are good men. I don't believe that.
I don't
It just
either.
doesn't even make sense to me.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
either.
I
I
think
don't
that
think.
I think it's kind of subjective. And
Of course it is.
if
That's
you
why.
if,
That's why
if
everybody's
It is.
answering. That's why everybody's answering.
It is.
Yeah,
yeah,
It
okay.
is.
So like if you were to try to answer that, you would have to include the thought of maybe there's evil man who's never been caught on record. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So who knows? It could the number of evil people could powerfully overwhelm the number of good people. Like we don't know. Plus a lot of the
Yo,
evil
y'all
shit
don't watch
that they
court
be doing
TV
like on
where
a
they
high scale,
where
they don't even count that as
yeah.
bad. They say, hey,
No.
we doing this
I
for the
watch
greater good.
yeah. I watch court TV all day, every day. And I'm gonna tell you right now, as far as it comes to, saying domestic abuse, women are up there. Yo, women are killing their own kids. And then turning around and lying about it. You know what I'm saying? And playing the victim, blaming it on the men. There are more than enough male serial killers, etc., etc. But you got to remember, if you go back to I think it was what 19, I think 14, that woman who had the hotel. There's movies about her where she had people coming into her hotel and they were disappearing. So it's not black and white when it comes to um, uh, people who are sociopathic, homicidal, saying maniacs. There's a study with what was it? Was it the Stanford? No, it was I think it's the Stanford experiment, where they did a test where they used this test. They brought people in, males and females. You know what I'm saying? A control group. You know what I'm saying? And they said, oh, there's a person in here who gets the questions wrong. You have to shock them, and every time they get a question wrong, you have to turn up the voltage. The women were turning the voltage all the way up, whereas when they heard the screams of the person on the other side, the men would actually stop at some point in the torture. They would not gratuitously continue. There was one white guy he started crying. He was like, "I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not gonna," you know what I'm saying. Whereas the women kept turning the voltage up. They to the point where the statistics show that they were more homicidal than men.
You
That's
know what's funny?
interesting. That is
You
That's
know,
interesting.
you
crazy.
know what's crazy about that? Like, as I was listening, I was like, okay, I listed the traits, right? But I just listed regular traits, the ones that they consider toxic masculinity, and the ones that we look at as femininity and toxic femininity. is crazy. Like when they define these things, and
Right.
I'm saying this to what Zion was saying, because it's like you gotta remember what toxic masculinity is supposed to actually be historically. We talk about dominance, aggression, emotional
Right.
suppression. Those three not really don't have nothing to do with man as a whole. Then you
It
got
doesn't. It doesn't. Yeah.
number four. Number four is hyper competitiveness. Hyper competitive women will wear an outfit and see another woman with it and go take it off. Like you know what I'm saying?
Go
And
take it
switch
off.
clothes.
Right. Right.
That ain't
Right.
competitive.
That's a fact.
Nigga, that is competitive. What you
Women are
talking about?
very
That is competitive.
competitive,
Hell no, you see somebody that
reproductive
you see
competitiveness.
competition
Are
and
you
you drop
kidding
out the
me?
race. That ain't competitive.
B, if I
Bro,
see my homie wearing the same freaking daggone basketball jersey I'm wearing, I'ma dap him up.
that's how men work,
I ain't
right?
changing my
And you
jersey.
know what? You know
Women,
what? If y'all going out to the club that night,
The nigga
game
got good
on, nigga.
taste.
Game on, nigga. Game. You
so
got the same shit on. I got a game on, nigga. That's
see,
competition right there.
but
So I want to
Ladies,
bring
they
up.
be like, you got the same shit on. I'm taking this off. Like, y'all
Oh
ain't really
man, and don't
competitive.
and don't let her be
And
her
you know what?
girlfriend.
You know what?
Don't let her
I
be
think
her
they say
girlfriend.
shit like
Yeah.
that just to trick dudes, man. They trick y'all in with
Yo,
that
and
bullshit. Like, I'm just trying to.
don't let her be
I'm
her
dressing like this
girlfriend,
to be
cause then
competitive.
she
Like,
gonna cuss
nah.
her girlfriend out. Like you knew I was gonna wear that dress, and you wanted to turn around and wear that. I mean, yo, women fight amongst women more than men fight amongst men. We
yeah,
I can
argue
believe
over
it.
Honestly,
competitive
I think
stuff.
I think that's because we understand that shit could go up. We control. We have a life. This is just Jay's perspective. I'm not pushing nothing on nobody. You know what I'm saying? I feel like me. I feel like men typically understand that shit can go way
Yeah,
left. We
left.
fully understand that this. I'm serious, bro. I feel like we fully understand that this.
We
It can go.
understand that.
Yo,
It
we're
get
aware
hot,
of it.
yeah. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
exactly. We're aware
Yeah,
of it. You know what I'm saying? So we have to
yeah.
exercise more
Women don't care
self-control.
about it.
They
They'll
bro.
take it there. They
Bro,
will
I
take it
watched a
there.
woman literally claw at a cop's face and all she got was a ticket.
I seen a woman bang a woman, another freaking female in the head in front of with a hammer.
Yo, all
In
right, listen.
front of her kids. Yo, B,
What?
when you go to the family court, oh, he dropped. He said his phone was dying. He'll probably jump back in. But when you see, yo, listen, at the family courthouse here in Syracuse, it's the women who be wrestling the daggone bailiffs.
Yep. That's why they
yeah.
have shows like Deadly Women, Snapped, and all of these other shows
Come on,
because
B. Y'all, you know what I'm saying? We
these
gonna sit
women.
here and
Let me
freaking sugarcoat it.
let me give you the rest of the list for toxic masculinity, and then I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah, go
read.
for it. Go for it.
Yeah, let's
Let's
get into toxic
contrast that.
Miss Andrew too. Yeah, let's get
Yeah,
into
yeah,
that
yeah.
after you're
So
done.
so all right. So after hyper competitiveness, I see misogyny, then
Right.
homophobia. Number seven is rigid gender roles. Number eight is sexual objectification, which is crazy because when men
That
was
one is
wearing,
bullshit, bro. That one is
what I say,
bullshit, bro.
when men wear them, let you have a pair of them little teeny shorts on or them gray sweatpants. Women be talking crazy.
Yeah, they'll say all
Crazy.
kinds of things. Call you gay.
B, no man, it's crazy. B, I'm
Them
gonna tell
gray
you right now.
sweatpants or them what they call them dash shorts or whatever you want to
Yeah,
call
hoochie
Captain
daddy shorts, the hoochie daddy shorts.
Yep.
shorts in the last 3 years. Yeah. Number nine, they said risk taking behavior is is toxic masculine. I and then number 10, isolation.
Women will take risks with your life, and they won't take risks with theirs.
Yo,
They
Oh
will
that's
take.
yeah.
so here's my thing, right? Here's my thing, right? And I want to bring up a comment that I saw. I don't know who said it. I think it was Timotheus who was saying walking down the street, there's not more men walking down the street that are just dangerous. I agree with that. I agree with that. And I saw another comment talk about being out at 2 a.m. In Vidor, Texas. I don't know if you niggas know. Are y'all aware of what Vidor, Texas is? They actually right now, just started cleaning it up from being a sundown town. Right now. I'm not talking about
Wow.
this is right now. Like, hold on, let me see if I can find that
Mm-hmm.
article. This is as of June 18th. It's July. What's today, bro? What's
It's the
July?
10th.
It's the
It's
10th
It's
of
the 10th.
July. They just now started trying
Yeah.
to clean it up from being a sundown town, fam. And she's saying that at 2 a.m. she had a flat tire and a dude stopped. If men were that dangerous, bro, she wouldn't be able to get help from a man on the side of the road at 2 a.m. in Vidor, Texas. Vidor, Texas?
Right. Right.
Come on, bro. Like, and I'm my whole thing is, listen, and I'm not caping. I don't want anybody to think that I'm caping for men as a whole, because I know that there's some sleazeball, trashy men out there. Like,
There's some garbage ass niggas
yo,
out.
there's some
Excuse my language.
trash ass dudes out here.
There's
There's
some
some trash
trash
dudes out here,
Negro, bro.
hands down.
Some
I just
trash
don't
men out there, bro.
understand. I just don't understand how we can say that masculinity in and of itself, the male form, is a
No, it's
problem. I
not.
can't. I can't agree with
Yeah.
that.
Well,
That I
you
can't.
you gotta
There's
understand
honor
why
that
they
come
say
with
it's a problem.
masculinity.
You
There's
have to understand.
boundaries that come with
You
masculinity. You know what
you,
I'm
you have
saying?
to
That's what
you have to
masculinity is for. It's for setting boundaries. Like,
you
hold
have to
on, you ain't
understand.
gonna step across this without getting that.
You gotta understand the issues and why they say it's a problem, and why you have certain men who deny it and destroy it for other men. You know what I'm saying? It's a catch
Yeah,
22, right? Men that are masculine had
yeah,
multiple enemies, even men within their own ranks. For example, the simps, the stupid
right,
irrelevant male pawn. That's
right,
what it stands for, right? They
uh-huh,
are
That's a
a
good
big
fact. That's
issue.
right,
a fact.
But the thing is, what Darren
right,
was reading, right? And woe to the married men and the men who have children who are just now looking at the age nowadays, right? Now, this is the world I live in. So, welcome, gentlemen. I'm going to pretty much talk to you about the downplays and the hatred for men that are masculine in today's era. For example, right?
come on.
What Darian was reading, I guarantee you that was a lesbian or someone who have a strong hatred for men who wrote that. Okay? I mean, it is
Come
evident.
on,
It is
preach.
evident. It is evident. It is evident. It is evident by the wording, by the wordplay. One thing they would
Yeah,
do at the
yeah,
end of the day, they will pretty much talk about and uplift themselves of what a woman should be by using the same words they would condemn a man to be. They would not want them to be. All right. Now, case in point, right? One of the reasons why they do not and will not accept a man that is masculine is because they realize that they lose all form of control. You see what I'm saying? So they lose
Mm.
all form of
yo,
control. They lose the illusion of control, and that frightens them. And it doesn't even have to be directed towards them. Like, for
yes,
example, I was always at work told that you talk in an aggressive tone. You move too aggressively. You know what I'm saying? It made a lot of the women
right,
I was around feel intimidated,
uncomfortable.
right? It was
Yeah,
this one lady, she used to always yell, curse me out. She was very disrespectful. Very, very, very
Mm.
disrespectful towards me when I used to work with her. Um, and I would just
right,
look at her and I'd eat an apple, right? And when I got done, I would spit the seeds out and I would just get back to work. And it would anger her because I did not pay attention to her. You see what I'm saying? It would anger her. And she said every
right,
little thing to me to make me upset. And I said, no, I'm going to tell you this, right? Now, her real name is Diana, but she calls herself Duncan. So here's the thing, right? Now, let's just say if I think she's really Duncan and I decide to dunk on Duncan, I would be a villain. If that was a dude,
right,
it would be no problem. And they said, well, Craig, what are you
right.
saying? That's wrong. Why would you say that? I'm just saying if she was Duncan, it wouldn't have been a problem. You let two other guys fight on the job. They fought and everything, et cetera, et cetera. But you let this lady do what she does. Now, if I correct her, and because she's a woman, I can't put my hands on her, because this ain't medieval times, this ain't Game of Thrones, this ain't House of the
Mm-hmm.
Dragon. If I correct her a certain type of way, and of course, yeah, she's in her feelings. At first, she was Duncan,
Right.
but she's
Right.
Diana now, and I had to get on her. Now she
She
feels,
gonna turn Karen.
and now she's talking about all type of, like, oh, I'm twisted, I'm hurt, I'm this, I'm that. But respect me as a man, and I'll respect you as what you would want to be respected. But she felt
Right.
because she was privileged because of what she subscribed to personally, she doesn't have to give that
Right.
respect. That's bullshit.
Back
So
to
we're
you.
living in an age where you do, and men have to admit it. We have to admit it. We have to stop playing around. We gotta stop pussyfooting around. We
Tip
have
City.
women that hate masculinity. They hate it.
Yeah.
They don't. Some of them don't even actually go through any traumatic things. They homegirls or they watch TV or social media, and they just pretty much in a lot of ways go with the whole facade. They hate it because it makes them realize that they're a woman. They hate it because it makes them realize that they can't control this individual. So it's all a control factor. Am I trying to say,
Control.
yo, be just crazy, dominant, and control women? No, I'm not saying that.
I'm just saying you have women out here, and ladies don't like to admit it, that hate a man for standing to be a man. They hate it.
Well, here's
Like, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna add to that. And not only do they don't want, they think that masculinity is wrong, but the reason why they think this is because they believe that they're not going to be needed. You know, if if a woman is dating a strong man who knows his purpose, because that's what a real man understands. He knows his purpose. He not only understands his purpose, but he knows it, and he's not focused on things that is going to get him into trouble just to make him look like or make him feel like he's a man. But if she's dating him, then the relationship isn't going to last. And the only reason why that is because, well, in her mind, she thinks, well, he's not going to need me. What does he need? What am I here for? I'm going to need him to need me. And again, that kind of goes in part and parcel to the control factor, because, well, I'm going to need him to need me. Kind of like a child, like her son.
Example. Yeah, that's a perfect example of a relationship that I just went through, right? So I was dating this college professor. You know what I'm saying? She has a PhD in psychology. You know what I'm saying? She works for SUNY Oswego University, and has her own house, beautiful car. Here I am, this single dad with my son. I one custody of my son, and I got a little tiny apartment. It's nice. You know what I'm saying? I turned my little apartment into a suite. You know what I'm saying? And because I don't need someone, you know what I'm saying, she was attracted to me. I started teaching her martial arts, right? She came to me as a student, and then became attracted to me because I was in the position of authority, and I was not, giving her any sexual attention. This is business, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm very clinical when it comes to things like that. I was able to tattoo women in the most precarious places because I maintained a level of professionalism. You understand what I'm saying? And so, one day, she started flirting, and I flirted. I gave her the energy back. You know what I'm saying? She says to me, beautiful freaking house, beautiful. She has everything going on for her. You know what I'm saying? She just came from Africa. She took a trip to Africa. You know what I'm saying? Did a lecture over there. She's living on the top of the world. But for some reason, she had to say to me, she said, when I want to get married, but I'm afraid that I'm a lose my power. And I'm like, hold on. If you have a child, if you get married or whatever, you had all of this stuff coming into the relationship. So that's not something that somebody can attack you on for, like spousal, saying support and freaking, saying, and estate. What power are you losing by having a man? Now, mind you, she had just overcome cancer. She's still fighting it, overcome cancer. So she was dealing with physical health, issues and the like. And so, if anything, it would have been more beneficial to her to have a man around just in case, things pop back up. You feel what I'm saying? But her conscious mind was more focused on her power and control than it was on having a useful helpmate who would take authority and who would know what to do and be able to, what I'm saying, to act accordingly, what I'm saying, if things went bad. And that's the crazy part of it. Her mind was so focused on being in a position of power that she has not been married, or she, what I'm saying, she turning 50 like me. I've been married already. This woman has never been married and don't have no kids.
But you have to
And she
understand.
worried about losing power.
But you have to understand. You have to look. It's like when you have, like, you ever notice? Because I was talking with a friend of mine. Overly professional women, they're married to their job. They're that professional. They can't turn it off. You know what I'm saying? Why they get a guy that people would call a low life, a degenerate or something like that. They'll just get the guy who just got out of jail. They'll get everything to this guy. because that guy is a form of masculinity that they crave because they have so much power. Now, the woman I'm talking about and the women you're talking about are totally two different individuals, Zion, because to be honest with you,
Right.
the women I'm talking about, she wanted to be controlling, but then she wanted to be controlled and conquered. So she had to get a guy that is pretty much in a lot of ways lawless, reckless, a rebel. You see what I'm saying? It incites her, it boils the blood, and it makes her in a lot of ways give in to that nurturing nature. And she just pretty much folds in and does everything for him. Like there was I forgot where the place was, but there was an article
Yeah.
of a lady, she was in a high place in power. Lady had a lot of power,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
she got in contact with this inmate and she was able to pull some strings and reduce that. Of course, she got caught and everything, but she did it for this low-level man that was extremely masculine, meaning extremely overly aggressive, confident in himself. And the dude whose mouthpiece was so cold, he made her say, fuck my career, fuck everything I built. I need this motherfucker in my life, right? Now, mind you, most individuals will look at him and say he's a bum, he's this, he's that. But you have to understand that man was able to make that woman bend that woman to his will without even touching her yet. You see what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is that trait of masculinity, that charisma, that confidence, that verbiage, the speech, the wordplay, everything to make a woman's mind rush, everything to make her heart start beating, that's a key example of masculinity that most women love and hate because they know it can make them go crazy and do whatever for that man.
That's what she told me too, man.
So
That is
honestly,
exactly what
would
she
you
said to me.
consider that? Would you consider that them fearing masculinity itself, or fearing themselves being susceptible to potentially being hurt? Because like that, and
Yes,
I
that's
think
what it
it was
is.
Timotheus that
That's
said this in the
exactly what it is.
comments. He said this mentality
Yeah.
was bred from the '80s, in the crack
Yeah.
epidemic.
Crack era. Yeah.
And I kind of agree because keeping in mind the woman was left without that masculine role that she had forever. She had that role through slavery. She had that role through segregation. She had that role through the civil rights era. And now all of a sudden crack hit the scene and it's no longer there. So there's a sense of insecurity there.
They had
But
daddy issues because
but
they were
see,
looking for the man that could actually, you know what I'm saying, give them the direction that they were desiring from their fathers that they didn't have as well.
but see, you have to check this out, right? You have to look at this, right? And I got to go back to the dude I was talking about. But when you look at that, the crack era, right? Because we're just coming out of it. You see what I'm saying? Because to be honest with you, the black family back then was way stronger than it is now because it had a strong masculine figure. You feel what I'm saying? The reason why it's attacked now is because at the end of the day, a lot of women feel like these guys were overly abusive, had families across town, all this type of stuff. And none of these ladies who think that came from those type of families like that. I do. I come from that type of family. That's that old country town family type of, I got kids over here in the next town over type of stuff. I come from that. You see what I'm saying? So I know the ups and downs with that. But a lot of them never understood how these ladies who have these men who are cheaters and abusers would still stay with them. They feel like they was held captive and all this type of stuff in X, Y, and Z, right? But when you go back and look at the contemporaries of what they were talking about back then and the people who lived through that, it was a bit much of a different story. So they have a form of propaganda now we are in, you know, in our age. You see what I'm saying? So the guy that I told you who had the charisma, who got himself out of prison by using that lady, you see what I'm saying? They would fear him, but then also lust after him because it's a forbidden thing that they want, right? So that's why they pretty much say, I don't want to listen to a man and his words because it can make you go crazy. That is that confidence. Women love that confidence. They love that game a man spit, right? Especially if you got the mouthpiece. So a lot of them, it drives crazy. You have some who will play hard to get, but they'll still entertain you. Because I had a girl who pretty much got on me every day, but I told her, you still entertain me. You must like hearing my voice and what I have to say. And she did.
Right.
She loved it because she knew she couldn't conquer me, but she knew I could conquer her. So when you have ladies who have taught themselves, a man is this, there's no good can come from a man, X, Y, and Z, A, B, and C, and they hear that, not only does it make them fear a man and spread the propaganda more, it makes them in a lot of ways feel they have no say so, and they can't stop this individual. You feel me? They can't stop them.
Well, I think that that's that comes from her mother. Her mother came from.
It don't have to come from a mother.
Well, it typically does. It typically does because you've got to understand her mother probably came from the baby boom generation of the 60s. And her mother, depending on what her age is, talking about the woman, the mother typically will come from, born in 1965, 1960, thereabouts. And, by then, things were beginning to change. I call that the paradigm shift, where there was a shift in morals and beliefs. Women were beginning to look at family in a different light. They were looking at alternative lifestyles in a different light.
Right.
And so liberalism was beginning to really have a firm grip on American society. And so if her mother went to college and was exposed to this environment and she takes it home to her child, then what do you think by the time her child is born around 1974, between 1970 and 1974 and after, then she's going to grow up in a home where, especially if she's a single mother, dad is not there because she probably died or probably just left the home or whatever the case, whatever reason. So she's going to be exposed to this worldview until she's in her 20s, and then she goes to college and she moves out, and then she's going to think this way because that's typically what happens. That typically is what
it's a culture.
It's
her.
Okay. All right. Well, check this out. This is what I'm trying to tell you. You have girls who come from that type of upbringing. Like, for example, it's a girl I know. I'm real cool with her. Her mother is a mother goddess worshiping, black woman's God type of lady, right? But the daughter did not grow up as that. She grew up to become a devout Christian. You see what I'm saying?
Well, there are outliers. There are outliers.
I'm just saying because, a lot of times with single mothers and daughters, they don't really get along. You see what I'm saying? But that's why there's always a lot of friction in the house. But what I'm trying to say is you have to look at it when it comes down to the masculinity, bro. And this is one thing I feel like as men we should work with. And OJ Duke Jackson, if you guys watch some of his content, he said it himself. Black women, no matter how we look at it, no matter how we stretch it, no matter how we try to place it, no matter how the Sexy Reds, the Cardi B's, the Little Kims, Nicki Minaj's, all the archetypes, they have a positive archetype that represents their femininity. No matter how much of a whore the lady portray herself in, women have made it where other women who have this type of start can clean themselves up and pick themselves back up, and boom, it's like it never happened again. And they're applauded and encouraged by other women because they were strong and they got better. And a lot of women had an upcoming like that. Now, as black men, with our masculinity, we do not have a positive black image of our masculinity. We don't. Most women, and this answer your question, David, most women view a strong black man as a thug, someone highly emotional, someone highly destructive, someone just reckless. We don't have a positive black image, or just an athlete. You see what I'm saying? That's one thing. It comes into a black woman's mind when it comes to black male masculinity. You see what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to say is, when we're talking about masculinity, right? When we actually talk about what's the issue, what's the attack, right? The attack is we don't have an image for it. There's no image. There's no positive black male image.
And that's
we
true.
Need to build one.
There is no positive black image, but my thing is, it comes from somewhere, and it didn't have to spread and become pandemic as it is, as it's become, but it did because of the acceptance. Now women are they're expecting us to be these negative images that they see in some of the movies that I just named earlier in this discussion. Now I'll give you one example in my life. I was working at a supermarket about 20 years ago. I was in college. Of course, I was broke, so I had to work a part-time job on the side. So I worked at this supermarket, and I was talking to this one young lady. She was working in the seafood section of the supermarket. So we got into a little nice conversation, and she asked me, "Where are you from?" And I kind of paused, and I said, "What do you mean, where am I from? You sound like you have an accent." And I said, "I don't have an accent." And then I finally broke, and I told her that I was from Philly. And she said, "Oh, okay. You sound really articulate. You sound like you're from like you're from Boston or something." I'm like, "Boston has, they sound like me? They sound like that?" And they don't. But I guess she was trying to say to me that it's so unusual for black men to sound articulate and intelligent. You've got to be thugged out, just like you just said. We've got to be drug dealers, and if we're not drug dealers, then we got to just come right out the pen. And if we're not coming out the pen, then we've got to be thugged out, walking up and down the street aimlessly without a purpose. And so that's what they're attracted to. And I said there's a psychological reason behind that. And that psychological reason is this. I need you to need me for something. I cannot need you if you are strong and independent like me, because if we are both strong and independent, then, well, what do we need each other for? So there's a codependence there that has to exist in order for black women to be attracted to the average black man. I'm not talking about now, of course, there are outliers to this, but for the most part, we're expected to be looked at in a negative light in order for us to be positively masculine.
Can I jump in there for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Steven. I'm glad to you.
I was just going to say that one of the reasons where there aren't any, I will say I agree with Timothy, is there are some, but let me say it this way. When you talk about the black male archetypes, you got to remember that all the ones that we could have potentially had that were given to us were killed off. For example, when you look at white superheroes, you think of Superman, Batman, Iron Man. When you look at the black ones, the most popular and prevalent one I can think of off the top is Black Panther. The funny thing about Black Panther, keep in mind what I said earlier, media drives culture. Soon as we found the person that we really liked, the actor that played T'Challa died. They killed off his character immediately. They didn't even give him the opportunity just to be replaced with somebody that was relatively good.
Yeah, they didn't recast him.
Blade, they had Blade, but when Wesley Snipes was in the running, he's also the same person that they casted in what was that, Tu Wong Fu, as a female. So or a trans character. So it's like we had that character, like Blade was a guy, Malcolm X was a person that was like an archetypal type of guy. They got him out of there. He died. You know what I mean? When you talk about other people.
James was killed off, and he was a strong, independent. He was a strong father, and he was murdered. He was killed off.
But see, this is what I'm trying to get you guys to look at right here, right? And those individuals you mentioned, right? Yeah, I get you. One's a comic book character, one's an actor. You know what I'm saying? But that's not the point. I gave a point earlier where I pretty much spoke about how you have a woman who can just be a flat out whore. She's out there and she builds herself up. Now she's a sales consultant, or she's a or manager somewhere, or or a paralegal. But the thing is, with us as males, right? Everywhere else, even internationally, right? When they think of a black male, is a thug or an athlete, positive images. You see what I'm saying? Now, yeah, Denzel has his stuff. You know what I'm saying? Michael B. Jordan's over there. You know what I'm saying? Samuel L. Jackson's over here yelling, screaming, and stuff like that, right? But there is no image of a black man that is intelligent, strong, has his money together, and he is a common factor within our community. That's why I said we have to build that up. When we look at black masculinity, the reason why it is attacked, because there are no barriers, no forts, no nothing that can protect it. Black men don't even really speak up for it themselves because they're too damn busy trying to show why they are somewhat better and their small forms of masculinity. You see what I'm saying? My father told me this, right? He said, son, I'm going to tell you something. If you continue to worry about what the hell women say, your ass is going to be so far up your motherfucking ass, you ain't even going to know where your ass is at. Meaning, if you listen to what women say about men, what they should be, when you are a man, if you walk like a duck, talk like a duck, quack like a duck, it's a damn duck, you're not going to know what the hell or where to start with when it comes down to building yourself up. So my thing is with black masculinity, we need to focus on what makes us men before a woman can say anything to us. Because damn near right, at the end of the day, a woman will say it, and I've been told plenty of times, stay out of women's business. You don't know a damn thing about a woman. You can't tell a woman nothing about a woman. It should be the same thing for a man. But we let women tell us on how we should be as a man. Like, I'll give you an example, right? Dreads. I forgot who started the whole dreadhead thing, right? I forgot the rapper who did. But when he started doing it, a lot of women started loving him and how he did and stuff like that. A lot of women said, I wish my guy had dreads or whatever. Every guy started copying it like a little weirdo. You see what I'm saying? Every guy started copying it. And they all started rapping and all this crazy stuff, wearing skinny jeans. Weird stuff. The nails, right? Men painting their nails, right? We had some women say, I like guys doing it because it represents their femininity and they're someone I can easily talk to. We can get our nails done together, which is crazy. I think the dude's name is David Coney or something like that. I don't know. But he was some type of musician. But Little Nas X, even though I like one song old boy did, he's a DJ. They say the great Kid Cudi, and it was another guy. They started the whole getting their nails done, and it became a whole trend, right? And they placed that into black masculinity. A lot of athletes do it now. Totally weird. You know what I'm saying? Totally weird. We let women's suggestions and weirdo suggestions like that David dude influence black masculinity. And like I said, there is no fortification, no garrison, no fortress, no walls that guard between that. That's a problem.
I think
that's an extreme problem.
I think that there was, but they all have been derailed. Sidney Poitier said that he refused to engage in the buffoonery that he was beginning to see in a lot of the movies that he was playing in. He refused to do it.
Dave Chappelle and Cat Williams did it too.
Well, yeah, him and Dave Chappelle. That's why he left. That's why he took his family and fled the country. He went to Africa. You saw what happened to Martin Lawrence. You saw what happened to Will Smith. You see what you're all of this stuff. So all of these things, all of these negative portrayals are being pushed forward. They're being pushed in our faces and for our children, like Tyler Perry is another one. They're being pushed for a reason. And all of the positive tropes, like Bill Cosby, all of these others, Sidney Poitier, they're being dragged off to the side. You saw what they did to Bill Cosby. You saw what they did to all of the other positive male role models. They're being pushed to the side because they don't want people. They don't, especially women, because women are the most impressionable. They're the most impressionable emotionally, and so they have to be led. Now, I'm not saying they're subservient. I'm not saying this, but what I am saying is that women and children are the most impressionable, and when they see nothing but negative tropes and negative, portrayals of men, then that's what they're going to actually start to believe. They're going to believe, well, that's all there is. So we're going to come to expect. I feel you,
but this is one thing. What we have to do is, it's another thing my father told me. I really hate this saying, but he's right. He said, son, sometimes you got to hammer a nail with a broken hammer. I know what you mean by that. It's a broken hammer. You's a man. You have to figure it out. Either you repair that hammer or get another hammer. So what I'm saying is this right here, right? I'm saying as a man, we as men need to actually take a stand and build the fort. You see what I'm saying? Now, Tyler Perry, you know, Martin Lawrence, the other, like Will Smith, simps. They weak. They're an embarrassment. They're not any. They just horrible at how they act. I mean, Will Smith got embarrassed by his own wife, and she justified why she cheated. You see what I'm saying? She wasn't even afraid to go on national TV and embarrass both of them and their kids, their whole entire family. And Will was so weak, he just let it happen. Yep, I understand why you cheated. Yep, yep, with my son's friend. Yep, yeah, you didn't care about her son. You're right. You look just weak. But I have to tell you this though, right? Men like Dave Chappelle, Cat Williams, you know what I'm saying? Like Country Wayne, they took a stand. They said, I'm not going to do it. And when they took their stand, folks had no choice but to respect it. You feel what I'm saying? They had no choice but to respect it. 100%. So what I'm saying is this, right? Another thing I had to learn about women also, right? A man that is strong, the women that want to be around you, they will be around you. They will respect you. Whether they can say it verbally or not, they'll respect you. They will. They'll give you 100% absolute respect. Not to your dominance, not to your aggressiveness, not to your rudeness. It's just your being of being a man. You stand on something. You won't bend. You won't break. They respect it. They will. And some of them say, you know what? I might want to be a part of that. It can change their mind. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is, right, as men, we need to get ourselves stronger, build the black masculinity back to its pinnacle state and form, build it up so it won't be torn down again. Because to be honest with you, women can't do anything to you. Simp men can't do anything to you. The media can't do anything to you if there is no defense. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm rocking with. You feel what I'm saying? Case in point, right? Let's also look into it like this, right? We also talk about certain things when it comes down to men and the world and how they look at us, right? But like I said earlier, if we stop caring about that and just focus on us and building the positive as men, it won't even matter. They won't have nothing to say. Nothing. Just think about it. I mean, I don't know, but you know, I'm a Texas dude, so I kind of look at things a bit differently, right? Especially in this age, right? I mean, it's especially for someone who had to pretty much fight to get everything he wanted. You know, once you knock down those doors and show that your strength and your power as a man, who can come against you? Who can? But my bad, I ain't trying to take the whole mic, man. But what you got to say about it, that J-Fax?
Well, sorry he's away for the time being, but I just you're right. We should there should be more men stepping forward. And when we try to, then we have to worry about being canceled, being muzzled, being our channels taken down if we're on social media, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Facebook. But yeah, our microphone, our megaphone should be larger. And what I mean by that is we need to get our own, or at least make our own social media platform, so we won't have to worry about being silenced. And so, and I'm not making the excuse of, well, we're being demonetized and we're being controlled by all of this other stuff. But what I am trying to say is this, that the ones that are standing up and trying to make a difference are being silenced, literally. They're being muffled. They're having their voice taken away. And so why do you think, for instance, you have men who are saying, okay, this is stupid, this is retarded, this is not good. seeing all these women getting on social media twerking and all this other stuff. It's not good. And then those very same women that are doing it are getting on social media and trying to get our channels taken down, trying to silence us, trying to say, well, this is not, you can't say that because you're quote unquote, here we go, bashing us. That's another liberal talking point. You're bashing us when you're trying to set us on the right track. So, Darian, do you have anything to say about that?
I would just literally say that I think a lot of the points that have been made thus far make a lot of sense. And I was just kind of looking at the chat, and I noticed that Najiti asked, "What are the problems with masculinity?" And if you and Craig could just give, I guess, an overview of what you see as a toxic masculinity, and whether or not you feel like masculinity is the problem, or do you think it's just the way women view masculinity?
I'm gonna say this, right? There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. That don't even come up in my vocabulary. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it really doesn't at all, right? That's some sucker shit. 100% of the time, when we look at and read these type of things, I guarantee you that woman has never had any positive interaction with a man, and that woman has a biased hatred towards a man. You know what I'm saying? And for the men who pretty much write these things about other men trying to big themselves up to make themselves seem more marketable to women, they're simps. They're stupid, irrelevant male pawns. So what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, right now, David said a lot about the girls going around twerking and stuff like that, going on the pages and taking this thing. Okay, like David, I know you said a few of these content terms, but you look at Andrew Tate. Now, the former UFC fighter, I don't agree with everything Andrew Tate say. Now, Andrew Tate has been told he was sex trafficking, pedophilia, all type of stuff, right? Now, the man's free today and he's still talking his shit. But guess what? Did that man surrender and give up? No, he didn't. He standing as a man. He was unyielding. He was invulnerable to all the bullshit and crap they threw at him. And now he's still talking his shit. He's still talking his shit. What I'm saying is, as a man, you have to be relentless. Darren read it. A risk taker. That's a part of being relentless. You have to be relentless. You have to be unyielding. You can't give up. One of the problems we don't have in masculinity today, we have men who give up so easily. They like a female. And you have some women, they even say, you don't got no fight in you.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, bro, another thing is men too, right? We don't boost each other up. We don't boost each other up at all. Like I had friends, man, I was very green with women. I was super green. I had friends that got on my ass and said, if you don't get this old Clementine, marry my first love, marry a girl that's like my mama ass, out your goddamn head, bro, and wake up and smell the coffee. If you don't get yourself stronger and stop worrying about whatever women say to you, if you don't get yourself some confidence and stop crying and whimpering that this girl don't want you. Bro, if she don't want you, go talk to her friend. See if she wants you then. What I'm trying to say is, gentlemen, as black men, we don't even respect each other's manhood.
Yeah.
We don't even try to build each other up. So how the hell can we fight everything else? How the hell can you conquer if you don't got soldiers at your back? How the hell can we conquer and be strong if you ain't no soldier? One thing about it, and I hate to say it, but it's our fault, not really the women's, that masculinity is not where it should be. Because as a man, we know our weaknesses and we know what we need to do in order to get ourselves in gear, but we don't want to do it because a lot of us don't have the drive. Now, I can talk about women all day and what they don't do. It's a lot of shit they don't do. Like how I'm speaking, how I'm talking, a man who has that same drive, sweat equity, ambition, power, some of them women would run away from that because they know they gonna motherfucking be subservient to that king and they don't want to deal with that. But a real queen would quickly be in that man's presence. Quickly. even fight for him and say, that's my king, and I'll rip your throat out, bitch, if you even talk to him. No funny. It's kind of funny. But my point is,
Come on and preach. Come on, hallelujah.
as men, though, we can't continue to dance around like everything else is the problem but us. Bro, like, honestly, Doc, I don't want to talk about, I don't want to say this, but I had to kick my ex out of my house. She said I can go to JP court, and in Texas, it's true. She can go into JP court and say my boyfriend's being abusive, X, Y, and Z, and get me thrown out of my own damn house.
Right.
Now,
Yep. I would
I
put her
could have
ass out
did,
too.
yeah, now I could have acted emotional like a wild gorilla and threw her out. I could have just went crazy and stuff like that. I could have did all that. But you know what? I had to remind
What'd you
myself,
do?
I'm a man. I'm a
I could go to
strategist.
JP court.
I'm a tactician. I'm a manipulator. I'm a hunter. I'm a gladiator. I'm a warrior. I'm a survivor. I'm going to play this out. And damn it, I played it out. Knowing my ex, she didn't know that, you know, if you have mail or anything like that come to that house and stuff like that, you know, it's evidence. But I know she wasn't that bright when it came down on Texas law. So when she left, threw all the shit out, had a little girls' night, threw all the shit out, changed the locks, called the police. They said, you don't have a key to this house. You don't live here. So we don't have no proof that you live here. So, bam, I got her out my damn house. I got her out. For the disrespect she showed me, she had to go. She had to. And I ain't give a fuck about her mama, her sister, her daddy. I ain't give a fuck about none of that. You crossed me. Now, a lot of people would say, Craig, that is so harsh on what you did. But when you don't
No, it
respect me
wasn't.
as a man, when you don't respect me as a man, you call the laws, you try to get me in trouble over some shit you wanted me to do, but I didn't want to do it. Yo, you gotta, yeah. Adios, shorty. But a
No,
lot of
see, you
men,
you weren't harsh. You did it real clean. Because I would have
yeah.
walked her to the door if I had hand in hand, if necessary.
But see, that's the thing though, Zion. A lot of guys don't take the time to think and strategize like that. That's another thing we don't have
A
with our
lot of guys
masculinity.
ain't never had their own spot and their own peace for a while, and their own kids in their house. See, sometimes when you have your own kids, you know what I'm saying, and you present in their life, no other love can actually match the love that your children have for you. And so, what I'm saying, you're not lacking in being unconditionally loved. You understand what I'm saying? So a woman's presence is a plus, you know what I'm saying, but not a necessity. That changes the game. So a
I mean
lot of
that.
sisters, they'll be like, you know what I'm saying, oh, you're such a good father, he's so handsome, you know what I'm saying, he's a good dad, but they are scared to mess with you because you have a responsibility to somebody else. And just like they wouldn't put you over their kids, they know that you ain't gonna put them over yours.
Right.
Yep.
So
But
what I've gathered, like everybody got their perspectives on what took place. I'm sorry, I was stepping away before I could even speak. But there's varying perspectives on this topic. I'm gonna just say my piece, and we can start wrapping up. I'll let y'all say y'all closing thoughts. Something that I find interesting, and I'm glad you brought it up, Craig. You was talking about how dudes are easily weak and they give up really quickly. But I don't think we think about or consider what they have at hand that they could lose. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't speak for none of
Right,
y'all. I can't speak for none of
right.
y'all. But anything
Yeah,
that I worked
yeah.
for my whole life, I am not gonna.
Over.
It's not something I'm willing to give up very
No, it's
easily.
not up. Yeah,
You
it's
know what
not up for. I'm not gambling that on
I'm saying?
on on some titties and excuse my language. You know, what I'm saying some booty juice. I'm not.
It's the reason why you see a lot of men typically end up staying in relationships that don't benefit them because they understand that there's a risk that they're taking and with
Right.
leaving that relationship. You hear us come up with these stupid cliche statements, it's cheaper to keep her and things of that nature. You track what I'm saying?
Yeah. Nah.
So
Sometimes
I
it
feel
ain't.
like for the most part, I feel like a huge part of the conversation concerning dudes running or just taking the
Hmm.
beating, if you will, stems from the fact that they don't want to
No.
lose everything they work for. Secondly, I'm also of the cloth
Yeah.
that there's been a lot of black male figures that have attempted to make change, and they were literally beaten down, whether physically, their public image, et cetera, et cetera.
It's mostly financial. Yeah.
We watched Martin Lawrence, who was at the pinnacle of his career, at the very top of his career, suddenly have mental health problems out of nowhere. He's running down the street screaming, "They're trying to kill me," and we're supposed to believe he's just losing his fucking mind. You understand what I'm saying? So it is my perspective. You see what I'm saying? It's Jamel's perspective that in most cases, when we have these male figures who are exuding masculinity, they're usually attacked or brought down. We saw stories brought up about Eddie Murphy. At one point in time, this man was running Black Hollywood, if you will. He created a
Right.
movie with it was black people having actual executive positions. Boomerang, if you remember. Yeah, the black people
Right.
having
Right.
executive positions
Correct.
running the place. And that was
Yep.
considered
Yep.
taboo. It was considered taboo. It
Hmm.
got so crazy for his career. They started making up statements about how he was sleeping with transsexuals in his car and all kinds of craziness.
Right.
These
Right.
are
They went
rumors
to
that
tear
were
him
spread
down.
about this man. Granted, I'm not knocking nobody's sexuality or lifestyle or none of that. I'm bringing up the question of the problem with masculinity, especially in the black
Did you
community.
see? Did you
Every
see the
time,
video that his response to that whole thing
oh,
years
not yet.
later?
I did. I
He
did. I
said,
did.
"Yeah,
He was
yeah,
giving
it was
somebody a ride.
crazy."
He was giving somebody a ride.
he
It's
he
crazy.
thought he thought it was a female, and he's has a soft heart for people who are transients and women who are on the street. You know what I'm saying? Especially coming from, he lived in Long Island. He lived next door to my Uncle Reggie. I tell everybody this story. You know what I'm saying? That whole entire movie, you know what I'm saying, Coming to America was inspired by the influence of my uncle. My uncle had African stuff all over his house because he was a United Nations diplomat. You know what I'm saying, and dignitary. He lived in Ethiopia for over 28 years and went back and forth to Long Island, right next door to Eddie Murphy when they were children. So, you know what I'm saying, Eddie Murphy, you know what I'm saying, he had, in that neighborhood, there's a lot of, we're talking Long Island, New York. There's a lot of women who were out there in the streets, you know what I'm saying? This is the drug era, you know what I'm saying, that he was growing up in. Heroin and cocaine were very heavy, and then crack cocaine came in a little bit later. And then so he was soft hearted, and he thought that it was a woman in the middle of the night. It was a freaking transgender prostitute. You know what I'm saying? And all he wanted to do was get the person to point me, being a freaking daggone. Sometimes you can't help everybody. And that's what he said. He said, I'll never stop and pick up a freaking
So
ever again.
it was unfortunate that he got caught in that because I can
Yeah.
And see, and
understand.
see,
I don't believe that he's a freaking
and
Shout
I,
out
good
and
to
dude.
I,
He's not.
I want to say this too, right? I'm gonna tell you another
Yeah.
thing. Like I said with the support, right? We do have a problem, and it's really some slave shit, and I hate it, right? With the old man, younger man relationship, right? Within masculinity, right? That is a huge
Yeah.
problem, right?
Well, because we've
Because you
lost
have
respect for our elders. That's the problem. We've
and
lost.
the elder
Our youth
and
have
the
lost
elder
respect.
and the elders don't respect those that are younger. Also, they
Right.
don't even respect their
Right.
upcoming and growing. So of course there will be no respect for the elders. And
Right.
I'm just saying too, because of the crack era, and these are some people I interviewed on the side. You had individuals who pretty much were doing better in their parents who lived in an era, right? And they
Hmm.
recovered nicely, but their parents tore and put them down. There were some women who went through that too. You see what I'm saying? Those who were in their
Okay.
community, those who looked like them, put them down. Put them down, shot
Right.
them down. Those who said, well, I
Right.
experienced this, but they haven't experienced it. And when you find out and you listen to them and you feel and see that they never experienced what you experienced and their advice is
Hmm.
not worth anything, you're not going to listen to that person and it's going to put that in your mind and say, I can't listen to this foolish old man. He can't even show me anything. He can't even give me the dignity and the respect. So why should I listen to him?
Honestly, that's a multifaceted. That's super layered in my opinion, because we got to think about
I think
several
so too.
factors. we got to think about a lot of factors with that, right? Like it ain't.
Right.
I don't think I'm
Like
not
for
speaking.
instance,
I'm not
values.
your
Values
perspective.
have changed. Right.
Yeah,
Values have
your
changed.
perspective.
And so older
I'm
people don't have the same values as young people. Young people are looking for you to have this and have that. And what whereas older people, you know what I'm saying, older person like in my age, you know what I'm saying, we're minimalists in a sense. We can have nice things, you know what I'm saying, and not have to be driving around in a freaking Austin Martin. You understand
I
what I'm
mean,
saying? And
even
so
then,
yeah, you know,
even then,
yeah,
I don't want you to think I'm countering your perspective at all. Don't think I'm countering your perspective at all.
yeah.
Please don't. I, my
No, it's okay.
what
Even if
I'm
you do,
getting.
so it's fine. We're not
Oh, no,
arguing. Yeah.
yeah. So
You can have a counter argument, a counter position.
with regards to the older, younger generation, I think it's more so the inability to let go. I'm trying to squeeze in what I can because I've been gone for a minute. We only
Okay.
got like 10 minutes left.
Okay.
Um, I
Yeah.
think it's the inability to let go, right? A lot of our elders think about what they, and I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just giving a little empathy, right? A lot of our
Hmm.
elders, they had to look at us from a perspective of keeping us safe. They lived in an America that, and for the most part, doesn't exist anymore. You get what I'm saying? The America that they were
Yeah.
familiar with. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but it's completely different than what it was when they were present. When we were little, they had
Okay.
to think about shit
Yeah.
like, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, our elders, and I ain't talking about great. We talking about our grandparents, our parents. You get what I'm saying? We talking about parents
Yeah.
that had to sit in the colored only section type. You know what I'm saying? Like there's things that they had to
Right.
experience that they had to keep us safe from,
Right.
that they're still operating within their brains about. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It took my
Right.
mom's. My mother
My
at
my
19
grandfather, who's
years
still
old.
alive, his mother was a sharecropper.
Yeah, see
That's
what I'm
how
saying?
crazy. He's
That,
90. He's 90, 96. And my
that,
grandmother is 96. God bless them. God gave them long life, longevity. They're still alive, and their parents they saw the Great Depression. They went through all of that. My grandmother to this day still stockpiles canned foods and
that's what I'm
unperishables.
saying. That's what I'm saying. Their
But
perspectives are different,
but
and I
say,
don't think it's a
but say if I
matter of
Yeah,
them not. I don't think it's a matter of them not
it's a
respecting us.
generational gap, and yeah,
let,
time
let me
period
let me
and
let
and
me
and
Not
the
let
even
me
that.
culture
Not
of
even
that
that.
time.
Not even that. I
let,
don't think it's a matter of them not
Okay,
respecting us, but they're not understanding
right.
that we have grown into our own. They're still
but,
looking at
but
us
Yeah,
very
but
much.
we're weaker than they are.
let,
They went through adversities that and they know some of the things that we all always have to be careful of. But a lot of us are domesticated in a sense.
let,
You
No,
know,
no,
a
let,
no.
let me
lot
give
of us children are
let me give
domesticated.
you an example. Let me give you an
Go ahead,
example.
go
Let
ahead.
me give you an example. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. I remember one time I was out, right? I was out with some
8 more
friends,
minutes, fellas.
and I was out.
Okay.
And I'm gonna be quick. And I seen this guy. He's about. I know he had to be about 18 or 19 or 17. He was around that age because he had that young glow, right, of innocence
Mm-hmm.
and naiveness. Now
Ken, Ken.
his battery and the hedges that connect to the battery, they were bad. It was corrosed, and he had a flat tire. Right now,
Okay.
he asked the older guy, like, "Yo, can you help me out? I don't know how to use this tool. Can you help me out with this?" And he said, "I don't have no tools. I don't even have a car. I can't even help you." Now he's an older guy, gray
Right.
hair and everything. So what the older guy did, he saw the guy's car and everything, right? Because the funny thing, the
Mm-hmm.
dude was parked right next to him. He got into his car, drove off. Didn't help him. Didn't help him at all. He didn't want to help him, right? And I looked at that
Mm.
and I said, "Boy, this is the most sorriest shit I've ever seen." Right?
Yeah,
And
that's
it be
sad.
types of disrespect that just be that foolish. Now, I helped him out. I showed him how to change his
Right.
tire, how to change his heads and stuff like that. I said, "Yo, you put this on here. You ain't got no WD-40. Yo, get some Coca-Cola. That'll eat
Mhm.
up all that acid." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I did that, right? But you don't even
Right.
have elders who will take the time to show you certain things. They won't even sit down to show you anything. They
Some
said, "Well, these young
sorry
guys
ass
won't listen."
elders around here.
They said,
Right.
these young guys won't listen. These young guys won't listen." Okay, now check this out, right? There are guys who are young, who are males who won't listen to you. They just say, "Man, go on, I don't want to hear that bullshit." But for the ones who do want to listen and talk to you, you shun them and treat them like shit, like they're little boys. And they'll try to talk with you and converse with you respectfully. But either then they get tired, they have to force you, or they just say, "You know what? you have nothing to say positive or anything beneficial for me at all. Because everything you do
Hmm.
and everything you stand about is nothing but outdated bullshit. You see what I'm saying? And that's why I
Yeah.
said when it comes down to black masculinity, that older and that younger bond, even if it's not father and son by blood, it has to be fixed. Because if you look at other
Well,
races, they still have that. You have older men in India helping children. There are males, right?
I got
Not
that.
even
I got that in
not even the
martial
males.
arts.
They'll go and
Yeah, I
help
got
them.
that
You
through
know what I'm
martial
saying?
arts.
Yeah, they'll
Yeah,
help
I
them.
got that through
So,
martial arts, man. You know,
because now guess what?
being in that community.
Black women will help younger black girls, but
Oh
black
yeah,
men
quick in a
rarely
hot
do
in a
that
second.
in hot second. But they'll rarely do that
Hmm.
with black males. So that's what I'm saying, man.
Hmm.
We
Well, they'll
gotta,
jump. The black males will jump for young black girls. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you
yeah,
need your tire fixed. But if it's a brother
yeah.
sitting on the side of the road, man, you should have known how to do. Your daddy didn't teach you how to, huh?
Oh yeah, you pathetic. Well, you better walk, young man. And guess what? And
Right.
guess what? I've been that young man walking multiple times when it was other black men who were older than me that didn't help me.
Yeah.
Right.
So what I'm
Yeah.
saying is this has to be fixed. And yes, it's some younger guys too. They say
Right.
some very disrespectful
We don't
things
have to. We got to
to
take some
some males.
responsibility for ourselves. We got to be
We
accountable
all
for
do.
ourselves as well.
We
You know what
all
I'm
do.
saying? At the end of the day, it's not about bashing women. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Yeah,
Exactly.
we're
That
not here to bash women. A
that
man
was
has
it.
to be able to stand on his own square first and foremost before he can ever judge someone else. You got to have your shit together before you can tell somebody else what they should be doing or why they ain't doing this right and that right. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Accountability is everything to a man.
And you want to know
Accountability is
something?
everything to a man.
You want to know
And it
something? I'm
should
gonna
be
tell
for
you
women
this.
too, but I'm not
I'm
gonna
gonna tell
call
you.
them on
Well, women don't have no accountability. I mean, only the rare mythical,
I
only
didn't
the
say it,
rare.
y'all. I didn't say it. Do not
I
say that
said it.
I said
I said it. I said it. I said
that.
it. But I'll say this though: only the rare mythical woman that has a conscience
Hmm.
and a heart will take
The
accountability.
that's the I call them a unicorn. I love me some
Yeah,
unicorns. They got dreadlocks. They smell like patchouli oil.
but
they're floating on a cloud like they're in a Spike Lee movie. Yeah.
but I'm gonna just say this though.
Honestly,
This is
Timotheus, my fault, Craig. You go. Timotheus, I want to talk about that. I'm actually gonna hold another show part two to this, and I want to talk about
We
that
got to
because
do a part two.
I want to switch to the solutions. I think that would make a really good
Yes.
conversation. We're
Yes,
gonna
I.
talk about that.
That's right.
Continue, Jacob. We're
and
gonna
I
wrap
think
up.
we have to
there
start.
is
Yeah,
there is
yeah, yeah.
solutions.
That's a good. Yeah, there are. There
There,
are,
there,
and
there,
that starts with us. You
there
know what I'm
is
saying? And
solutions.
us making right, right. Like for me,
There is
I
solutions.
have
We just
a
gotta
couple of
start.
kids that I teach martial arts to. I have a young 15-year-old comes. He's my one of my best friends' stepsons. He comes, you know what I'm saying, over and you know what I'm saying, I train him for about an hour and stuff, and then he goes home. And it's not just, martial arts and how to fight and beat somebody up. There's moral structure that I give to him. You know what I'm saying? I also feed him. I show him how an elder is supposed to, treat the, he's not my child, but he's my child in a sense. You
Let me
understand
ask
what I'm saying?
But
So yeah. Go ahead, y'all.
I have to say this, and I'm gonna just be real brief. Um, as a man, especially an older man, because I'm gonna tell you this, right? You don't have to have everything. You don't have to have the gold, the land. You don't have to have that, but you have to be content and stable, right? But you have some older guys who don't have that, but they talk so big. They talk like they have it, but when that younger man finds out they don't have it, they say, "Yo, he's just bullshit. I don't want to hear that." I've seen men, and I'm one of them, who seen a guy who don't have much, and we have more than him, but he is stable. He has a good family. He has longevity. He's happy. He has peace, right? And we all ask him, "How did you get that peace?" Because we want to know how he did it. You see what I'm saying? So we can incorporate it into our lives. You see what I'm saying? Younger men will listen to older men, right? Well, because younger men will listen to one who outranks us and who survived the battle. Just you have to understand at the end of the day, right? It's how you talk to them. And with masculinity in play, we are so at odds with one another we don't even know how to respect each other's masculinity. But what Kel said, there's a new narrative he's been seeing of to mentor a kid is a simp move. That comes from they're not really red pillars and they're not really manosphere, even though they try to say they are. But those are guys who try to say that those guys are trying to pretty much be a stepfather to get the girl, to get the mama. You know what I'm saying? Instead of actually taking care of the kid and stuff like that. If that was true, you would be seeing like a whole bunch of male mentors, right?
Right.
Be getting these
Yeah,
dang single
I
mothers
don't do it for
pregnant.
that. I
Yeah,
don't do that. I don't even know how, you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, so like with the student that comes over, he's his mom is married to my best friend. I don't want
Again,
no parts of
I'm,
that.
I'm
All the crap
fully,
that he goes through with her, I'm not even
yo, no.
tempted.
Please, I
You know
know,
what I'm saying?
listen. Hold on to that
There's
because
no way.
it sound like you about to
Yeah.
start going into the conversation with solutions. So
No,
let's hold on.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
promise
let's
we're
go to
gonna do a part
solution.
two to this. We're gonna do a part two to this because I want to talk
Yeah,
about that, like partitioning what it means to be a mentor and all of that. Fellas, I really
right.
appreciate you having this conversation. This shit was dope to me. I felt like it was a dope conversation. To me, it was necessary
Ken.
because I didn't think it
Yes,
was
sir.
even. I couldn't look at it like it was an actual agenda, like a plan to get rid of masculinity. That shit was confusing to me. Like I always saw it, but it didn't make sense. Yo, anybody got any closing thoughts
Right.
before we close out and head out of here?
be a man and
I have
level up.
nothing.
Be a
You
man,
level up,
level up.
level up.
Be a man and level up. Stop
I
listening
don't
to
care if
what
you
women have to say.
what did Curtis Mayfield said? You don't have to drive a big Cadillac, gangster white walls, TV antennas in the back.
Like I'm
Just
gonna
be thankful for what you got.
I'm gonna say this.
I'm gonna
It's all. I'm pretty sure it's all grown men listening, but in the event that there's a young man under the age of 25, I'm telling you, I'm challenging
That
you.
doesn't know who that is.
Hold, Sam, hold your balls. Don't let nobody tell you what a man is. You define your manhood.
Right,
You understand what I'm saying? Don't let nobody say
right,
what a man is under any circumstance. Anybody else got
right.
anything to say?
Yeah,
That's it.
I gotta say this. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, man, work with what you got, enhance what you got, and make what you got be something exclusively unique to you. As a man, that
That's
is
right.
what make you stand out and
Yep.
shine amongst the others. That's what will
That's
get you
right.
chosen, and that's what will get you in the door with that woman, and that would make that woman come to you. And always,
Right.
always, always have a purpose outside of your woman.
That's right. It ain't all about her. It's about you know what I'm saying? Achieving and succeeding at something in life.
Because a lot of
That's
guys,
it, man.
man,
What's that?
and I'm gonna just say this, right? I'm gonna say this too, right quick. A lot of guys feel like they're not a man when they get divorced, and they feel like they're a man when they do have a wife, and that's totally, totally wrong.
Right.
Totally
Right.
wrong.
They have yeah. That's terrible, terrible, terrible.
That's
You
dope.
gotta be a
All right,
man first
Ken, you
before you
got
get
anything
You
you
have
married.
to
want to
be
add,
able to
bro?
stand on your own square
I'm
no strings
I'm
attached,
Gucci, bro.
and
David, you
still
got
have
anything
your
you want
head
to
up.
add before we head out, bro?
Yes. I think this was a good topic to cover. I've been waiting a while to have this conversation. I'm glad you guys have provided me with this space to say what I need to say. Shout out to DMG for giving all of us this opportunity to get out what we need to get out as far as our views are concerned. And Jamel, thanks for having me on the panel.
Yo, of course, bro. Make sure you come to the solutions. I would love to hear your perspective about the solutions, G.
Oh, definitely, I'll be there. I'll definitely be there
Yeah,
when
that's
we
gonna be a good one.
do the show.
Yo, Canada, take us out with Neo Love, y'all. Y'all have a good night, fam.
Shalom.
Yeah. I know I got about 30 seconds to make y'all feel this before y'all turn it off these days. That I might not even release this. But I be doing this shit for me. Help me get through. I feel like I give until I can't, but most don't recognize it till I ain't. Blood on them covers, she hoping paint. Sorry, mama, but it ain't. This world took a toll on me, and everyone that say they love me always seem to fall on me. The same one that call me great, treat me like I ain't shit. I read between the lines, it's written all over your eyes. I see the disappointment in the eyes of the ones who want me dead, but I ain't never been scared. I tried to get there. Sometimes I wonder if I survived or did I die on that ride to that hospital. Demons all around me, I am not mental. This game of life, it is not simple. Last time I was happy, I was popping pills.
And that sucks.